What's good, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Versus series. And if you guys saw a little bit in the beginning of the B-roll, I was been sitting here grinding on Omega most of the morning to try and get up to at least gold or platinum with Monarch, because I plan to take Monarch to this regional. And, you know, last week we played DDDs at locals, but this week's going to be a little different because I have to work Friday, which means I'm only going to head to a out-of-town locals on Saturday. And I'm going to try my best to live stream there, but sometimes like the internet and the service ain't too great to live stream, so we're going to try it. But I've been really testing and really liking the deck so far. I'm really pleased with it. The deck is just, it's kind of wild. Still to this day, after all this stuff, I've still been saying how crazy it is that Monarchs can do what it does, and I think it's very slept on. I did make some minor changes that I've been testing, which was cutting Majesty's Fiend and putting in a Foolish Burial and putting in a level 6, the normal Zaborg, right? But I've had some issues, and allow me to explain. When you're playing against Yummy and you're playing against, you know, Fiendsmith pile decks, Zaborg comes in clutch. The master plan getting banished by either Aether or the Prime Monarch gives you an additional normal summon into Zaborg, which is really cool. But when you play against some other strategies such as Mitsurugi, Majesty Fiend is phenomenal against Mitsurugi. If you play against Mermail Atlanteans, which could be floating around, or is floating, at least is floating around here on the ladder, you don't play the Water Monarch. So Majesty's Fiend shines in those variants because those decks I feel like easily have outs for the Monarch's win conditions, such as you know, Mermail, they just summon Poseidra. Target your Monarch to bounce back, dump infantry, target domain, you're cooked. it is what it is, right? So that's where a card like Majesty Fiend shines. So I still don't know yet how I'm feeling. I mean, even arguably, if you summon Majesty's Fiend against any deck, they're going to struggle, right? So it's just one of those things where just more testing will tell. Fortunately, I've been grinding on the ladder, and that's what really brought my attention to the Zaborg confliction. Or the issues was the Zaborg instead of Majesty's Fiend. In my IRL testing with the actual like deck, I've had like the opposite. I've literally been, every time I've had Majesty's Fiend, I've been not playing Zaborg. I've been like, dang, I really wish I had Zaborg because this master plan would go pretty deep because they're not summoning any dark monsters. They're only summoning light monsters like Yummy, right? And it would just be kind of nice that, you know, Yummy now essentially, it has like one more good push through removing their bodies. Now, if you're able to get to Stormforth Aether, you're able to resolve 2 bodies, but they have Marshmallows, so like you kind of need a 3rd form. But I think that's where maybe just changing what you do with the trap and stuff like that. I think that maybe you prioritize searching the trap because they're going to be special summoning a lot. And that trap, every time they special summon, you get to do all 6 effects or 5 effects on that card. And I don't see how any deck can play through 5 of those effects going off. But anyway, that's the testing that's been going on so far. I'm getting ready to pack it up here in the next few days, and we're going to head down to locals down in Cheyenne, Wyoming, if you guys are familiar with the area. About an hour away for us. We're going to zip down there, get in some good testing, and stay tuned for some B-roll and some review of the footage. Okay, guys, before we go off to locals, I want to showcase you this match. I ended up going into DB and trying to hit the ladder for a little bit. I'm usually not a big fan of DB just because it just takes so long. I like the Omega and Yugioh Pro because it's a little bit faster pace, you know. But like I do enjoy DB because it's the closest IRL Yu-Gi-Oh you can play because, you know, Master Duel, Omega, Yugioh Pro, I'll give you like prompts. So like you're just like, oh, I'm not going to forget these things. Where in an IRL duel, you know, like your cards aren't going to glow. So like you got to play. So I decided to hop on the ladder. I think this is my first DB game in a long time. I just thought I'd showcase you guys, you know, my matcher, which is very interesting because I end up playing through, I think, one, two, three, like almost 3 forms or 4 forms of disruption, if not more. So let's just go ahead and show it out here. So we're going to go ahead and look up here. I'll go ahead and quote good old DB Grinder. 40 versus 40, you love to see it here. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and play here. Just go by play. Look at this. He has Ash, Bell, Imperm, Talents, and a 1-card starter. That's literally, that's so insane. 3 hand traps and a 1-card starter. It sucks that he opened Talents just because I don't play any hand traps. But if you look, I'm testing Thestalos in this build. Even though I think Zaborg is better, I love hand looping. I'm not even going to lie. It's like probably my biggest Yu-Gi-Oh sin is like, I'm guilty. I love hand looping people. I love getting hand trapped like this and then ripping more cards out of my opponent's hand. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like a rewarding thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to go do like 10 Hail Marys and ask for forgiveness.
You need Jesus!
But it's just, I was trying Thestalos here, but this would probably be Zaborg. But I was just kind of finding like Zaborg is, so it's good going first, but it's not good going second. Well, it's better going second than it's good going first than Thestalos, right? Thestalos, I normally don't get to look at your hand. Big whoop, right? That's like really good for going first when Erebus allows you to go ahead and like rip cards, right? But going second, it doesn't really do anything too impactful, whereas Zaborg at least can destroy a card, right? Zaborg doesn't have to destroy itself. You normally do, but going second, you can Mega Zaborg destroy something. But we're just looking at my opponent here doing yummy stuff. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here. He's going to get into these guys. I know one of these guys is a Book of Moon. He's going to have get access to the yummy surprise right here, which is going to be potentially a bounce. And of course, he has the 3 non-engine in his hand on top of it all. And I think he's going to be able to establish a Herald here, which he does. Yep, Marshmallow to add back the yummy surprise. We go ahead and see a Synchro into Herald, a set 2, and pass. Now pause. Okay. So right here, I file suit off the Pantheism. I don't understand why people, like, this is probably the most incorrect thing I've probably seen. So, like, look at my hand. Maybe I should have led with the Teresa, but, like, I didn't want to go ahead and put a body out and him start chaining stuff, so I decided to lead with Pantheism. He doesn't ash it, which is insane. Why would you not ash Pot of Greed? Which is just confusing me, because people are like, oh, well, this is not guaranteed. In a deck, like, I understand that. I understand, like, it's not a guaranteed, search. It's just a draw too, right? But, like... I don't think people understand, like, in any other deck, you probably ash this, or you wouldn't ash this, right? But in Monarchs, like, this is, like, pivotal sometimes. Pantheism pitching is getting us into play. So, of course, they don't know it, right? But, like, I just don't understand, like, if I see a card that, like, Pot of Desires, anything that says +1, or, like a card like this, I'm going to ash it. I don't understand. Maybe that's my bad Yu-Gi-Oh playing. But we also open Prime here, which is kind of crazy here. So we draw a 2, and then we fire off the Monarch's Master Plan, which he ashes here, because this is a guaranteed send, but at this point, there's nothing really I could send. This was just bait. That's all this was. This was just bait. And he ends up taking it and throwing Ash here. So we go ahead and activate Pantheism, banishing Reveal 3, and I do think I make a misplay here. He gives me Tenacity. I think I should... maybe it was a misplay, but he gives me Tenacity. And any of these cards are good. I feel like any of these paths got me somewhere. The thought process behind giving me Stormforth is because once I activate Stormforth, he would negate it, so then I could just use my second Stormforth. But he decides to give me Tenacity, which isn't terrible, because this is what's going to allow me to go Tenacity, reveal Thestalos, because I don't know I have Erebus. He chains the Yummy. I chain Stormforth here, and this he lets resolve. He doesn't negate it with the Herald, which is interesting. Because, maybe his idea is just to keep me off of a body, maybe, right? Stormforth resolves, Tenacity resolve, and grab me Domain. So, like, the kind of my playthrough with Yummy so far is that I want to try and establish, Domain. And I don't understand. He was clicking on it, so I was just like, am I good resolved? I don't think any of these guys negates. Like, Cups the Yummy. If this card, is Synchro Summon, you can add 2 Yummies, blah, 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 discard 1, and then quick effect, right? So, yeah, none of these do anything. So I was just like, good resolve, because he was clicking on it. Now, that might be what he was saying. So then... Cups Yummy is going to resolve, adding Cookie. We banish here, and... Okay, once I get a pause here. Okay, so we banish the Master Plan with the Prime. He bells Master Plan, so that's 2 hand traps out of the way, right? Then we activate Master Plan to target the Herald. So this is the second part of, like, my plan, my big strategy, is if I banish Master Plan, target, I can search out Majesty. And then I can use my summon to summon Majesty, and then I'm kind of off to the races a little bit. Maybe I don't, that's like the immediate thing, but looking back now, watching the replay, like, I should have probably committed a little bit more, put out the Squire, try to do a little bit more, and then use my last normal summon that I could probably get to summon After Majesty. But he decides to Herald negate the Master Plan, which this card actually, huge shout out, got announced as a super in the next OTS, which means the entire deck minus, I think, March is now hollow, which is really nice. So he negates that. I end up going to Teresa, reveal Domain, summon out Teresa, and I just frame 1. I don't even activate Teresa's effect, because I know I'll be able to get Teresa's effect back. So I just frame 1. I know I got to solve this, otherwise he's going to chain and tag out. So I just tribute off Erebus, using Erebus and the Cupsy here to tribute for Erebus. I go Chainlink 1, Erebus, Chainlink 2, Teresa. He goes Chainlink, I think, 3, Surprise, Chainlink 4, Imperm. And he uses the Cupsy, or the Surprise, to special summon. So I'm like, okay, so this right here is crazy, because this is exactly what Erebus is designed to do. When you're going first, Erebus is supposed to be like ripping cards out or baiting hand traps. So Erebus just did its job there. So there's the 3 disruptions, 4 disruptions if you count the Herald, and he summons out the Snatchy. I summon out, so Snatchy's effect activates to quick synchro as Chainlink 2 to Adia, because I am turn player. I missed that Adia. So as turn player, I get to construct my Chainlink. So Chainlink 1 Adia, Chainlink 2 Snatchy. So we resolve the play here. We go summon out the Cookie. I summon out Eidos. Turn player, Chainlink 1 Eidos, because it's mandatory. And you can go Chainlink 2, the field spell here of Acroquery. I can't even pronounce that correctly. The field spell. And then he can go ahead and use the effect of the Cookie to Book a Moon. So he's just going to read, he's going to, I don't think this was correct. So he decides to destroy the Eidos and Book a Moon the other 2. So what's crazy here, Erebus is still counted as a tribute summon. So my next play here is literally Smackdown Domain, and then currently, as long as this responds, he can chain here, right? But even if he chains, he summons out from the graveyard, right? What is he getting? He's completely domain locked. So then I'm like, okay, well now I got a few more lines. I can go into Thestalos, normal summon Thestalos, look at the hand and destroy the Yummy, or rip out the Yummy that he searched. Get hand knowledge of what the last card in his hand is, but I'm actually going to be able to rip out potentially the last card in his hand as well, because what we do, we'll just go ahead and play through it here. We'll just fast forward here. So Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. Okay. So he ends up admitting defeat after this, but the line is, Dia adds back Pantheism, Thestalos rips last card, I go Pantheism, pitch, add back Erebus, I then banish Eidos to summon out the Tessera. I even still have my own normal summon worst case scenario, and then I normal summon the Erebus again. That Erebus will shuffle out the last card, and then I just go battle phase, because I can use the domain to reduce it, my Erebus, and I go whack, whack, and then we control the game from there. But that's it. He actually ends up admitting defeat, and he doesn't decide to play through. Just a sweet, a swift one game with a hastily defeat after mid-defeat. However, that's one thing I do want to say is that this deck can be very infuriating. You're like, especially when you're playing like a Yummy deck, or like a meta deck, and then all of a sudden like a Monarch comes through and just kind of, I want to say beats you, but it just doesn't feel good, right? But yeah, I wanted to showcase that. That was technically, let's see, we played through a Pop, a Book of Moon, Imperm, Bell, Ash. That's 5 forms of disruption, man. 5 forms. And that Yummy, potentially the surprise could have been a Compulse for 1 or 2, if I remember correctly. I think it has to target, no, it has to target 2, but he could have Compulsed. Now, again, you can say, well, he just didn't use his, his interactions correctly, and that is very well true, but that's like Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the entire joy of playing Rogue in Yu-Gi-Oh! So the opponent doesn't know. That's the advantage, right? But that's what you kind of want to do with Monarch versing Yummy, is you want to try and establish your domain, do whatever you need to do, but when you're going second, the deck plays so funny because it's trying to constantly synchro summon. You need to try and prioritize getting the Stormforth out, and you can like kind of bait the Herald with multiple Stormforths, so you can Pantheism, Pantheism a lot, trying to dig for Stormforth. Pantheism can search you Stormforth. Pantheism an insane card, because like I said, it was like a Pot of Greed, but it's not really. It's not a +1. It's pretty much a break even, but it is a +1 the entire card, right? Pantheism, discard, draw 2, banish Pantheism, search 1. So it is a +1. It's literally Pot of Greed. So like you activate Pantheism, you bait something, banish Pantheism, search Stormforth, bait Herald, and then you're just like trying to establish the domain and play underneath that. Maybe the opponent will read what's going on. They'll try to like play correctly, but sometimes they don't know. So once this domain sticks and you tribute summon, it don't matter if those Yummies chain and summon. For the most part, it's going to be, for the most part, when they chain and summon, they're not going to be able to quick synchro because they're locked out of the extra deck. But anyway, I thought that was a good showcase before we head off to locals. Please remember, yeah, this is pretty sweet. I really, maybe we'll do more DB content. Comment down below if you guys made this far in the video, if you want to see more DB type of content, because I will gladly do it if it's what you guys want to see. But let's go ahead and get on into the B-roll and head down to locals. All right. So guys, I ended up making a few changes to the deck list. I decided to test out Thestalos instead of Zaborg, as you guys saw in the DB thing. I decided to go ahead and try that IRL, just give it a try, right? So here's the deck list right up here. You guys can check it out. Like I said, I'm just going to try Thestalos, even though Zaborg's pretty great. I was starting to think a little bit. I was like, every time I've resolved Zaborg, I've domain locked, and it just feels counterproductive to domain lock in Zaborg because you're doing essentially the same thing, right? So like, what's the point of putting my opponent under domain and then using Zaborg to rip their extra deck, right? They can't use their extra deck anyway. Given, there is like some minor like circumstances where, oh, they get rid of domain, you could have Zaborg them, they have no extra deck anyway. But if they're getting rid of domain, like arguably you're losing anyway. Because if you use Zaborg, there's very few times that Zaborg might be through hand traps, you're only tribute summon. So if you tribute summon out Zaborg destroy itself, you're ripping these ripping those 7-8 cards from your opponent's extra deck, and then you have no tribute summon monsters, so then domain's just sitting up there.
So I thought we'd just try Thestalos for going first, because even though the deck can go second, it prefers to go first. It feels so good going first, and Thestalos just adds an additional layer to that. And in the sense of, like, you get to look at the hand. So, like, Erebus is really good because you can shuffle up to 3 cards back in from the hand. But when you throw in Thestalos and you get that hand knowledge and you know what you're playing against, like, I don't know, like, if you go with Thestalos, look at the hand and see you're playing against Vanquish Soul, Domain's not going to do you any good, right? So you might as well just go ahead and get access to the Perfection Trap, and then Perfection does more than what, Domain would do. So that's kind of the thought process. Also, being able to Thestalos on your first Tribute Summon allows you to look at the hand, rip out like a Nibiru, which we can get hit with Nibiru, which isn't the end of the world, but still, it can potentially sometimes, before you leave the main phase, Nibiru, and you've already used your Tribute Summons because you've extended, you have no negate for it, you lose your Domain Lock, all that stuff. So anyway, we're just going to cut now to the trip. We got about an hour and a half drive, and I'm just going to make some coffee over here, and yeah, we're just going to start our way to locals.
What is good, guys? Here we are at round 1 in our locals. It was 19 players. That was 5 rounds of Swiss and then cut to top 4. And we are here in round number 1 against one of the boys I normally play with at my other locals. So literally a bunch of us drove an hour and a half to sit across and play each other, which I think is ridiculous. I actually truly believe that our rival locals, which is a collector's hub down here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, that they actually pair the players from our locals together so that they're less likely of us to get to top cut. And it's like that thing. Can't prove it, but I'm almost certain. But we're going to start our turn with a Revolt, which is kind of interesting. A Revolt, pitch the Tessera. I feel like I think I have a decent hand, so I just want to try and play around Droll, and I normally don't know. I think my hand's just good that it's okay for this to gas. So he does Ash this, which I'm like, sweet, that's okay. The bait has been followed. Of course, Tessera will trigger, summoning out Adia send out Eidos effect 2, additional tribute. Foolish Burial, which is one of the craziest cards, I think. I think this card has to be a mainstay because of this synergy that it has with the deck, getting access to both Squire and Monarch with Erebus. Activate Erebus effect, pitching Pantheism, target itself, add it back. Banish Pantheism, so I can go ahead and get that add back from Adia whenever I decide to draw more cards. But I'm going to reveal 3 Tenacity, the Lion, Witch, and Tenacity of this player here to give me Tenacity. I'll just go and activate it, revealing the Erebus to go ahead and search out. I think that's Domain. Darn glare. Yeah, it's Domain. I got it. I got it in the shadow of my hands here. So I get Domain. We go and activate the Domain. I'm pretty sure, right? Is that what we do? Activate Domain? No, I just hard tribute summon Erebus. Go Chainlink 1 Erebus, Chainlink 2 Adia. Erebus is going to be able to hand loop. This is what I really like about this deck is mostly low impact hand traps, such as Ash, Imperm. In most hands, you just they hand loop themselves for 2, and then you can come in with Erebus and get 2 more, and potentially Thestalos, since I'm playing Thestalos too. You're going to be able to potentially rip 3 more cards. But we're going to go and activate the Pantheism. Pitching the Perfection, which I don't know if it was a correct call, but I already know I have access to Domain, and I don't know if he has any main deck out to... I think I ended up drawing into Caius and a Stormforth or Caius or something. It wasn't a good draw off of that Pantheism there, but I just activate Domain and pass. So he normal summons the Machina Machina gear frame here to search out Unclaspar effect, a special summon and dump, and then I chain the Prime. He is going to be able to finish Resolve. He sends Citadel, and then I'm going to go new effect, Master Plan, target the Unk, because it is a dark, to go ahead and search out Eidos, because I have Caius in hand, and then I immediately contribute summon for Caius to banish the Unk, and then he proceeds to go to Unga Boonga Yugioh, which is... Oh, wait, what is that? That's Clockwork Knight. Okay. So yeah, Clockwork Knight reduces and then boosts, I think. So he's going to reduce my monsters by 500, boost them by 5. So he attacks here, dies, brings back out Citadel. Citadel is going to be able to crack into one of my monsters and attack over it, and then he can use Citadel's effect, I believe, to blow itself up. Or I think he holds. So he has 2 other cards in his hand, and that's what I was kind of expecting. I was expecting the Citadel to blow up here, but I think he has to destroy itself, right? And he didn't want to do that. But I believe I fire off Tenacity, revealing the Eidos, and I think I'm just going to grab Stormforth, which is just going to go ahead and force the Citadel here to go ahead and blow itself up, which is okay, because that's exactly what I want. I want to go ahead and preempt it, or not preemptively, but go ahead and use this Stormforth to force that form of interruption now than later in my turn. So I go ahead and reveal 3. I show the 3 Revolt, and I think I showed I think that was a return of the Monarch, I think. So 2 Revolt and return. Yep, so he gives me return, the Revolts go back, which is okay because, again, it's going to get me kind of the same thing. I go and activate Stormforth, he chains Citadel, destroying Erebus, and then now I can just kind of reveal Tessera, or reveal Tessera, revealing the, activate Tessera, excuse me, not revealing, activate Tessera, reveal the return, to summon itself out. He called by the grave, the other. I go ahead and chain the Prime Monarch here to go ahead and banish the, what do you call it? Banish the Perfection, and then I go and activate the return, thinking, I was like, dang. Call by the grave, pretty good, pretty good. This local's definitely just, I literally get hit by so many Saki 1-ofs, it's unreal. And it's just crazy. Unsearchable Saki 1-ofs. Because there's a difference between Saki 1-ofs. Because there's searchable Saki 1-ofs, which, like Monarch, play like one domain. Not Saki when you can search it, but like cards like Call By and certain Floodgates that you just have to hard open. Because those are Saki, because it takes no skill to open cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But regardless, he calls by, which does kind of slow us down here, which is okay, because we end up summoning out the Eidos with the Prime, going Prime and return, banishing the Eidos from grave to summon Adia summon Eidos. Eidos give me an additional normal summon here, so I still get 2 normal summons this turn, even though he robbed me of the Tessera there with the call by, which was pretty good on his part. We end up summoning Erebus, going Chainlink 1, Erebus, Chainlink 2, the Adia. Of course, you guys saw I reduced the Erebus with that domain there to make it only 1 tribute. And I go and shuffle back the Citadel from the graveyard, because I just want him to, like, this could just be primitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And he could just continually keep this loop going. And I was like, nah, get Citadel out of here, I'm not too worried. That other set really isn't too scary to me. What is it, possibly like an Imperm maybe? Or a Bluff, so like I was like, yeah, it's whatever. But now, again, I just was able to get Caius off the field, so since it's not really, this RB deck's a mix between both Dark Machines and Light and Dark and Earth, so like, yeah, I don't play an Earth Monarch, but like I do play Caius. So like I should be able to like it plays into my own strategy. His deck, having Dark Machines, does help my own strategy with the Master Plan and Prime and stuff like that. But on activation of Funk Dock, I'm just going to flip over Perfection, and that's enough for him to wrap it up here. And we go into that all-important game number 2. And I had an issue with side deck, and I will talk about this at the end of the locals part of the video, because my side deck was really bad. Not bad. I think my cards were good, but I just never saw anything, man. And it just was so upsetting to side in 9 cards and you only get to see 1 of the 9 cards. So I think I'm going to revamp my main deck and my side deck. But we're going to see RB get to look at my hand, which I'm like, okay, this isn't super terrible, because like you want to give me a monster on field that if you don't get rid of it, I can just tribute summon. So like it's not super terrible. But for RB though, this is insanely good, because you get to look at the hand and literally summon a monster, so you shut off like board breakers like Lightning Storm evenly. No, you don't Lightning Storm evenly. Imperms get put down, and if they have a Nibiru, you just summon the Nibiru, and everything you have is going to be bigger than Nibiru. And you can also solve the Nibiru through your turn with the RB stuff pretty easily. But we're just like our RB combo, Machine Smith stuff go on. I know some people kind of like, my buddy Alex across me has been playing this deck religiously, and I know some people have been saying like this deck is just called really bad, but like I do not think it's really bad. I think the deck has definite lines under like Nibiru, through hand traps. Fuwa kind of can cook the deck if you don't draw, but this is like one of those decks where I feel like you main deck Ash and Droll, just so that you can Droll yourself. But I also, wait a minute, hold up, I actually don't think Droll's correct. I think you kind of can do it, but you do a lot of searching yourself, so Droll wouldn't be like, that big of a, it hurts you almost more than it would the Fuwa. So I feel like that's probably like the issue with this deck, is it doesn't have a lot of good lines underneath Fuwa. I mean, the RB landing, allowing you to summon out the Shepherd's Crook, but I see him set a card, activate Clockwork Knight. I kind of know what this is. I was like, this is going to suck. But at least my hand, I have Soul Exchange. But since he saw my hand, he's going to be able to essentially get out the Spell and Trap Negate. So I draw for turn, and he activates Rivalry. Another Saki 1-of, man. An unsearchable 1-of that's going to cook me with this combo here. But he's going to go Shepherd's Crook to be able to bring back the Spell and Trap Negate. So I'm looking at, my only line through this is to crash the Eidos, and then try to, it's not going to work no matter what. Like I do, if the drill was not there, I outed the board. I outed the, what do you call it? The rivalry. But it is what it is. So we end up, with my seeing my hand, it's not good enough with the rivalry lock going on. So we wrap it up and we go into a all-important game 3, where I open a handful of nothing but Squires. And it's variance, dude. And especially like at the end of this, like I was just like, yeah, man, there's no point. Like, what is the chances of seeing nothing but Squires? I throw down my hand just to show, because like he's gonna be able to get damage, because Brute Blues is gonna be able to swing twice and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you got it, brother. Just nothing but stuff. So quickly, I'll go ahead and go about my round 2, round 3, round 4, just because I don't want to make this like a 2-hour-long video for you guys. But round 2 is Draco Tail. He messes up and wins the die roll, makes me go first. Domain lock, cooked him. Round 2 was against Labyrinth. Or excuse me, round 3 was against Labyrinth, and Labyrinth, I was really hesitant of that match. I thought for sure that deck would cook me, but I guess we have a very good grindy matchup against Labyrinth if we open well. We grinded out. We could have literally took double game loss. I have enough resources, and the lovely ladies are not only like a few hundred bigger than Monarch, so like he couldn't get enough to kill me, so like we really could have like had a double game loss. But I decided to wrap it up game 1, move to game 2, Domain, hand loop him for a few cards, and then just establish Majesty's Fiend. We wrap it up, go into game 3. Game 3, he goes full combo. I open 1 side deck card in the form of Evenly. I have the ability to bait his Desiree because he goes Fiendsmith combo with all the lab stuff, and he ends up dropping Lancia on me in the draw phase, and I'm like, or during the draw phase, I think, or main phase. One of the two, so I don't have the ability to out the board, sadly, at that point, because I can't banish and everything. And then we go against some sort of zombie pile after that. The zombie pile was not really that scary, except for, like, it kind of, like, once I realized what I was playing against, I was like, oh, Skull Servant is in the, it was like a Skull Servant Grimanju type of stuff. So Skull Servant was just going to be able to whack me for, like, 8 or 10k, because it got so huge, but I wasn't too... Once I figured out the game plan, I was able to, you know, manipulate my board and stuff, and then, you know, forsake Domain to go ahead and play Perfection, which, again, like, if you're playing Erupt could almost do the same thing, I feel like, but I really like Perfection's flexibility, but yeah. And then we move on into our round number 5 versus White Forest. And we conveniently win the dice roll here. So we end up starting our turn. He, frame 1, drops Fua, so we do our best to try and play around it. We start with Pantheism, pitching Stormforth, draw 2, banish a Pantheism. Just trying to bait more hand traps now, but I kind of catch the hint of no more hand traps after this, so I was like, okay, so I got to play underneath Fua. I could actually truly I mean, you can't play underneath Fua, like, completely. You're going to give him, like, 1 draw, maybe. I mean, there's a world where if you hard open Domain, or there's a world where if you just open Tessera plus get access to Domain plus a normal summon, you can literally just, like, normal summon, right? Not use Tessera's effect, knock down Domain and pass, right? So there's a world to hand loop him for that, but I want to be able to, like, loop some cards here. And this is he's going to give me, I forget what he gives me, but I banished a special summon out Eidos with the Revolt. We have he gave me Eidos. So Eidos effect to go ahead. I believe he gave me Eidos. So I had to use the additional tribute summon off of the Eidos to summon Eidos. Eidos to search out the Stalos, reveal for Tessera, and then I think I go ahead and reveal... Yeah, so I reveal Thestalos, reduce its level, then I go ahead and move down the tribute summon, so I get to look at his hand, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. So this is kind of cool because he's going to get to look at... I get to look at his hand after the draw, and I see Talons. And I go ahead and just get rid of I think that was Droplets, so I get rid of the Droplets, because Droplets, during the battle step, clear out all my monsters is pretty good. So I do have an additional normal summon, because I used Eidos, and I used Tessera, so I have my normal summon for turn, so I used Erebus to go ahead and, you know, add him back, tribute summon, Chainlink 1, Adia, Chainlink 2, Erebus, or a Chainlink 1, Erebus, Chainlink 2, Adia to add back the Vanish card, and I get to randomly, you know, hit here. That's what I wanted to say. Like, Thestalos is the sniper, right? Chapow. And then Erebus is the spray and pray. So, like, I sniped the 1 card in his hand. Now I'm just pretty much going after whatever else I can with the Erebus here. And, yeah, so I pass it over to him. He has Instant Fusion, and he tries to fire it. I was like, yeah, sorry, brother. You locked out the extra deck while I control Tribute Summon Monster, no extra deck. And he's like, shoot, okay. So he activates the White Witch, pitching the Instant Fusion. And I'm like, yeah, can't stop that. And this is, like, one of those decks where possibly playing, like, Zaborg would be kind of nice, too. Like, I remember, I've mentioned it in quite a few of the episodes so far, about how I would like to play Zaborg, the little Zaborg, I should say, just because of this right here, so I could, like, fire it off, summon out the, you know, Zaborg Destroy and stuff. But he goes ahead and goes into Vengeance. He's still in the battle phase. So in the battle phase, I go effect of Prime, Banish, Master Plan, target the Vengeance, go ahead and search out Caius, and then since I can go ahead and Tribute Summon for Caius, and this is crazy, because this is all in the battle phase, because remember, guys, I saw the hand with the Stalos, so I know that Talents is in there. Talents says monster effects that have to activate during the main phase. So, doing this in the battle phase is pretty good. We're going to go ahead and permanently get rid of the Vengeance while getting back Eidos to be able to get Recursion. Eidos then can grab me, like, Aether to have follow-up, which is kind of nice. And not since I'm still on Seal Glare, it could potentially be, but I really don't want to play into the Talents in his hand that I know. So I grab Aether just in case, like, a last minute, like... But, I mean, he's already gone battle phase. This is still in the battle phase. He chains the Vengeance to summon out the Poplar, the Synchro, And, I mean, technically he can still go into something else. I mean, he could quick synchro here into something, I think, which would have been a smart thing to do. But we start my turn with a Banish of Pantheism to go ahead and reveal out 3 Stormforth and a Tenacity. And he just kind of, he's like, wow, he's like, you're just going to get what you want. And I was like, yep. So he just goes and gives me the Stormforth. And then we just fire off Stormforth here because we have the Erebus in hand. After we're pitching it. So we pitch, Pantheism, additional Pantheism to get back Erebus. We activate Stormforth on the resolution here. And he's like, man, even if I chain, you can just tribute off the whatever I summon. And I was like, yeah, sadly, man, that's what I can do. So he wraps it up, and we go on into that all-important game number 2, where I just fall short with my side deck. I end up seeing one side deck, one of my side decks. And like the theory should be that you can, you know what I mean? Like you can play a lot of going second because you have Pantheism to draw 2 cards, right? And that's like that's the thought process. Is that Pantheism can draw into more blowout cards, but like it seems like that logic never has come to fruition because every time I've like gone second, Pantheism's like avoided my hand, and then if I do draw off Pantheism, I draw like the redundancy of multiple names I've already seen and stuff. So it's pretty crazy. Anyway, we see the summon of the Duel Star to go ahead and add back. And this is just full white force combo, which is kind of crazy. Which isn't too super scary because I know in my hand I do have Soul Exchange. So I'm just like sitting there, I was like, okay, whatever he does, I just got to look at the board and find out what's more important. And, Soul Exchange, 2 of the monsters away. Because I think I have Erebus in my hand as well. So I was just, Erebus, tribute some. It'll solve 3 monsters in itself, essentially. The tribute 2, and then Erebus will be able to potentially shuffle back another card. So I was like, you go whatever you need to do. It is what it is. However, I think he does get established to Sylvia, and Sylvia is pretty much a pretty crazy card. So he goes into the St. Azamina to bring out, I forget that one's name, but it allows him to bring it out, and then on summon he can bring back a Duel Star or a White Forest card, so he's able to bring back out the Duel of the White Forest. The card's actually crazy because it can like quick effect, send a spell or trap from field or hand, and then be able to summon out our... what do you call it? The Synchro, that Book of Moons, or the Poplar, be able to Synchro, quick effect Synchro and stuff like that. So it's still pretty cool, but we're going to see Vengeance. Vengeance is a pretty hard card to deal with, I feel like. But we're going to see Hallowed into Sylvie, I think, which is pretty good. We see the summon of the Duel Star. I set 1 and pass, and I activate Tenacity during the main phase, and he goes and negates it. Then he flips over Anti-Spell. I was like, oh my god, another Saki 1 of Floodgate, dude. That you just have to see. I was like, yeah, well, and I show him the Soul Exchange. I was like, I could have played, but not with that. So we get to go first here, and again, all important game 3, where this is like heavily in our favor. As long as he didn't see a lot of hand traps, we go Tenacity, reveals Seal Glare. Seal Glare can probably just go ahead and grab his domain. And see, this is what I wanted to do. This is when you're going game 3, going first, you want to go ahead and prioritize searching out domain. So my first search should be domain. He drops Droll. At least in my hand, I feel like I had the ability to get out, attribute summon, and domain lock him, right? So it's like still under Droll, you could potentially get to your win condition. But, I mean, hindsight's always like, 2020. I've actually pondered of like this scenario, like not even going first. Like, I really want that 6 card. Like, they're going to side in all those going second cards to blow up my board. So, you go first. They brick on those going second cards. They put up these, like, not so formidable boards because they kind of, like, open bad maybe. And you get that 6 card, and you get to break their board because Monarch can put on, 8,000 pretty easy. But, I don't know. I kind of hold true to the Triff saying of stick to the game plan. But we're summoning out the Aether to summon out Eidos, dumping 2. Eidos to go ahead and search out Chainlink 1 to Dia first, Chainlink 2 Eidos. To go ahead and search out, I don't know what I search out. Did we search out? I think we go hand, do we get greedy? No, we search out Perfection here. Arguably, I really felt in this matchup, after I started firing off Perfection, I was like, damn, Perfection's kind of broken when you get to use these crazy 5 or 6 effects on it. But I was kind of like, man, also just kind of Erupt would just, kind of do everything. But I talk about that, when we get into like the post locals, review of like how I felt about like the changes and stuff I made to the deck and like my thoughts on stuff. I get into that, after this. But anyway, again, we're just going to start hand rooping him. We go Erebus to go ahead and shuffle 1 back, and I think I do have the ability to banish the Prime, banishing Perfection, and I think I tribute for Thestalos. Yep, for Thestalos, Chainlink 1 Thestalos, Chainlink 2 Adia, add back Perfection, so I get Perfection back in rotation. And I'm just looking at this hand, I was like, wow, this is a pretty decent hand. Double Sylvie, Azet and a White Forest. I'm just like, man, I'll just go ahead and just ditch the White Forest. I'm not really scared of anything else that you got, especially opening the double Sylvie. Like, if I get rid of one, he can just summon the other. So Elzat maybe I should have got rid of, right? But, you know, what? But I just go... But I have the ability to check the Azet with the Perfection, so I activate Perfection. And I guess here's a good example where Erupt would have fell short, right? Because Erupt could not have stopped the Elzat because it's all one effect, but the Perfection is going to be able to do some crazy things. So I target the Elzat to put it back to the top of the deck using Rise's effect. He normal summons the Sylvie to go ahead and search out the White Forest, the field spell. He activates the White Forest, and then White Forest can go ahead and search him the White Witch to be able to send the field spell to summon itself to dump. And see, this is going to get him immediate access to the Vengeance, but again, on special summon, I get to use the Perfection. I wish there'd be kind of crazy if there was a Monarch that negated, but sadly there's not. That's the one thing I think Monarch is really lacking, is some type of negation. And I've kind of thought about playing, it's like the Dark Monarch that is like a DD Crow on summon, because I feel like if you could either out that and then, like, you know, banish Fiendsmith stuff, banish out like these, I think it's any card too, don't quote me on it, but then you can like banish out the traps and stuff from the grave, so like Vengeance can't come out. Because right here, he opts to banish, he doesn't opt to special summon, so he summons the Vengeance, I chain the Perfection, and I was like, I'm just going to target the Vengeance to banish to go ahead and just solve this card, and then he even opts not to use it because he was like, ah, man, there's no point in using it, because it's just, you know, you have domain and everything. So he gets the reset, and then I think he just gets to special out the Recluse, that's, I think, Reclusia, right? That one's, like, not really played too often, but again, triggering out the Perfection. I get to go ahead and... I forget to banish here, so it's caught on me, but I banish to go ahead and destroy the White Witch, and he draws, I think, a hand trap for turn, which is just kind of brutal. But we have all the writing on the wall, man. It's kind of like you're just sitting here playing the game, but yep, that's all it for the locals, man. Ended up going 3-2. Okay, guys, so I really want to just kind of sit down and discuss a few things about the deck most of all, like the changes that I made, right? So I want to just kind of discuss, give like a brief, you know, like talk about. So the two cards I really want to kind of talk about are the Thestalos and the, where is it at real quick? I think the deck is just so up in the air of like how it could be played, to be honest with you. Like I really think that there's just so many changes you can make. So these two cards. So you should probably play Zaborg, but I don't know. Like I really enjoyed the Thestalos. A lot of OCG lists I've noticed weren't playing the Majesty's Fiend, and also weren't playing like Zaborg either, but entirely different formats, right? But the issues that I've found is like this card is, I really like hand knowledge overall. Like I said, if you're Zaborg in them, you have no need for domain. If you have domain, like you could, there's like a soft argument for, right, not having Zaborg, but I don't know. I really like getting to see the hand, and like Thestalos gets to rip any card, so you get to rip like those board breakers, those cards that out you, and then Erebus kind of goes in and, like, you know, I don't know, this is like your sniper shot to the hand, right? You snipe their hand, and then Erebus just kind of sprays and prays and hits everything else. So I don't know yet. Maybe Zaborg is the correct call. Like I feel like it is, but I really like Thestalos. It's like my favorite Mega Monarch, so I might continue to test with it and just keep trying it out. Sealy Glare I want to talk about because I've been really thinking the deck's biggest weakness is non-engine, right? And I was thinking on cards you could potentially cut. And I think you could potentially cut Sealy Glare, and then you could potentially cut down your... I mean, like, of course, you could cut Call By, you could have... Like, I'll show out, you could cut down possible 2 Stormforce, which I don't want to do. I feel like Stormforce is literally an insane card, to be honest with you. So you have a total of, like, 5 cards you could potentially cut. I feel like maybe you could cut, like, Master Plan as well, down from 3 to 2. You potentially, if you're not playing Sealy Glare, I mean, you should probably not play triple, or, double either. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel. Triple Stormforth always feels good because of, like, the possibility to lose the dice roll. But I don't know. I just feel like you try to build your inboard as, like, you don't want it just to be, even though Domain by itself can win you the game, you want to have more insurance. And that's what, like, Aether plus Sealy Glare does. And I've never had any bad instance with Sealy Glare. Truly, it's never caused any bad type of hands. It's always been like reveal, and had the ability to search out stuff because it's Monarch stats, like with tenacity, and then it's a tribute summon. So then like you can like Foolish Burial, then tribute summon it to bring out Eidos. Like I've had more success and more good things from Sealy Glare than I feel like Majesty's Fiend, which is like you have to play Majesty's Fiend because you got to be able to counter like Mitsurugi. You got to be able to counter the Mermails, you got to be able to counter, like, just all those decks that don't care about the extra deck, but are just, like, a lot of monster effects, like, that you got to have Majesty's Fiend regardless. So I don't know. I'm in a lost part of the deck building list where I don't want to cut down. Because what would you put in, right? If you had 6 spaces to put in, you would put in like Fuwas and board breakers. Monarch Stormforth is already a board breaker. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how I feel. There's a world where you could just cut the Aether, or you could keep double Aether and cut essentially like these 3 cards, which feels terrible because you want to play these. But, I mean, like, you want consistency, so you play 3 Fuwas in the main deck and then just hope that Fuwa puts your opponent on awkward board states. Of course, if you're going to locals and your locals knows that you're playing Fuwa with no other hand traps, they're not going to play awkwardly, they're just going to send it. But if you're going to any other, like, event where, like, the locals don't know what you're playing, you Fuwa them, they'll end on, like, a half board, and then Stormforth and Erebus will rip through a half board like nobody's business. And if you get rid of Sealer Glare, I feel like you really then try to capitalize on using your Aether to banish the Master Plan during the opponent's turn to be able to summon this and then trigger the Master Plan. So, I mean, like, but then you can do, like, some pretty cool things where you don't have to tribute certain things. Like, I feel like if you banish this, you can go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, or you could do some sort of, like, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, dump, summon out, you know, like, since you're not summoning out Sealer Glare, you summon out Eidos. Eidos allows you to search, and then this right here targets, and then you get to do the whole Caius plan by, you know, targeting an opponent's Dark Monster, and then you get to tribute summon over the Eidos that you just summoned out with the Caius, which I just somehow, like, squeezed, like, right by and didn't see. And then since you tributed a Dark, you get to, you know, burn them for 1,000. You know, it's there. Like, it's just, I don't know how I feel about cutting out Sealer Glare. I really like Sealer Glare, but I guess it's maybe like a win more card. But maybe you cut down these 3, and you main deck Fuwas. I don't know. I just got tired. Like, sometimes, like, I mean, like, you're not going to be able, that's its downfall, right? You need names, you need the counts. I think the Squire lineup of 3-2-2 is correct. I think the big Monarch names, I think you play 2 Erebus, one of the Mega Monarchs of your choice, and then you play the 3 Eidos, the Caius, and then the Majesty, and you just go from. I think that's correct, but again, like I said, I just don't know, guys. Like, I feel like Droll exists, so you need to have counterplay to Droll, but maybe you just you side, or you do post side. I found, like, when I was trying to play around Droll, if you just search sometimes Domain, if your Domain's your first search and you make your first search with Eidos, you just search Domain, they Droll you, you just activate Domain, and then if they don't have an out, they don't have an out. So, again, I don't know. But for the locals, man, truly, I will say that Thestalos overperformed. And I'm trying to think of, like, if it was Zaborg, like, yeah, I could have Zaborg ripped them too, which possibly could have won me, but almost every hand, you know, like, against White Forest, even if I X-Deck ripped them, the Vengeance could have come out and done something. So I don't know. I think it's up to personal preference. I really like Thestalos, like I said, so maybe Zaborg is the correct call to start ripping decks, but you really would hate to look at the opponent's extra deck and you rip apart, and it's like Mitsurugi, it's Vanquisol, it's, you know, I'm just trying to think of any other deck. You, like, play against, oh goodness, decks that just kind of don't need the extra deck, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels kind of bad, whereas, like, Hand Knowledge is, like, so crazy. And, you know, arguably, Odeon, that's another deck, too. Odeon exists out there. That Odeon deck doesn't care. You extra deck rip them, they're, like, cool. Whereas I'd rather have Thestalos look at the hand and rip a card, rip out the, you know, man with the mark, or, you know, something like that. So, yeah, but this card overperformed. I actually was kind of hoping it would perform terrible, and I would just want to immediately move back to Zaborg, but this card really performed so well that that kind of sucks, because now I'm like, I kind of want to keep it in because I like it that much. Zaborg, I've also found this as a good card to side out. That's another siding patterns, right? When I know I'm going second, I side out these 3, and then Sealer Glare would come out. I would side out where's it at? Monarch Perfection, and I would even side out the Return. And that's just to be able to fit in 6 cards, but I try to side in 9 cards. So then I start to think, I'm like, oh man, maybe I side out one of the names, right? One Master Plan, one Tenacity, and then I go down to the Revolt and side these names down. But then you just get to I mean, it doesn't feel bad doing this, because as long as you have Pantheism then can, like, banish itself, reveal double Tenacity, Revolt, or, you know, 2 of whatever you want to search plus a Tenacity, and you're just guaranteed. You still have, like, the ability to get what you want in that matter, but, like, these are, like, the 3 cards I've caught myself siding out. I don't like to tinker around with siding out the Squires, because sometimes I side out my Squires, I see a handful of Tribute Summons. I side out my Tribute Summons, I see a handful of Squires, like that happened with me in the RB match. You only have, like, really 9 spots to be able to really side out when you know that you're going second. And I have found, when I know that I'm going first, these cards stay in, or these cards stay in, And the cards I end up siding out when I know that I am going first, of course, I side out one of these and the double Stormforth, and then I put in the Solemn Scoldings. I found like that's just it. But again, you don't really, the deck already has such a good going first that you only just want to siding Scoldings to protect yourself from the board breakers. But I've actually contemplated of the old switcheroo, because sometimes Monarch really needs that 6th card, right? You need that 6th card, so maybe you just keep in the board breakers and you say, you go first. And they've already sided in going 2nd cards, and you just prayed they brick on those going 2nd cards. You get that 6th card, and you have enough going 2nd, cards to be able to potentially, plow through, because, all it takes is 28, 28, and 24 to be able to play. But I'm not too sure. I do want to test inside. It's called the Shadow Flame Monarch. It's accessible through Revolt and can be grabbed back from the graveyard through Erebus. And that's a Liger Dancer out, which is, not too crazy. But it's also more than that. It's a really good going 2nd card in some instances, because you get to tribute your opponent's monster. And then if you tribute your level 8 or higher, which if you're going 2nd, sometimes it can be your Aether, sometimes it can be your Erebus. Most of the time it'll be the Eidos, but if you tribute an opponent's level 8 too, it's a possibility. You're able to then banish, resolve 3 cards, 1 in the hand, 1 on field, and 2 on field, 1 in hand. So it's 3 cards off of 1 tribute summon, which is kind of wild. You know what I mean? It is level 10. It does, level 10 is kind of brutal. The attack stats don't add up, but it is like a main deck out for the Liger Dancer, which we did have a Lunalight player at the locals that was there yesterday. But I was really, like I said, I'm really pleased with the Stalos. Perfection, I feel like this card is pretty insane. However, definitely if you looked at that last matchup with the White Forest, if I just had Erupt, it would have just done kind of the same thing, right? I just feel like this card just gives a lot more interaction. But also something to note that I like about this card a little bit more than I do Erupt is that in certain instances, you're able to banish the Master Plan. And that will allow you to trigger the Master Plan to, get that Tribute Summon. So, keep that in your head that this card can also proc the Master Plan, which might not come up enough to justify it. And it's like I said, if you end up dumping the Seedling Glare and getting rid of it, you might as well maybe use your Aether, because I want to use my Aether during my opponent's turn to get maximum value, and the only way you can do that is by combining it with Stormforth or the Monarch's Master Plan by banishing. Like I said, those are the only really ways you can kind of get maximum value if you cut the Seedling Glare, because then what is this card summoning out? Summoning out another copy of, Erebus, summoning out maybe Earth of Stalos so you can get access to it. But I mean, it's still I just want to have disruption with this card. I think the ability to tribute during your opponent's turn is insane. I do like the ability, if you have Majesty Sphere out and you have Aether, you want to normally get Aether in rotation. So the goal set up with Majesty Sphere, which if you guys, I think it's on video, I opted to go for Erebus ripping more than Majesty. Because I think I saw Droplets. I think that's what kind of scared me, is I knew he was on Droplets and I didn't want to summon I think I sent back the Droplets or discard the Droplets, and then I didn't want him to draw into another one, I think, and then just out my Majesty, so I just would rather hand loop him and have more tribute summons. But it's kind of cool when you do establish Domain plus Majesty, or Perfection plus Majesty with the Aether in hand, because once they just imperm this, they're okay, we got it, but then all of a sudden, you can, once it's imperm on resolution, you can go Aether to tribute it, and then summon Aether, and then like I said, Aether will then potentially get you disruption, especially if you didn't get access to the Master Plan or the Prime through your turn, you got hand trapped or something like that. You were just not able to get to it, so you're just able to keep them under a Revolt, or excuse me, you're able to keep them under Perfection and Domain while keeping your game plan still going and getting access to that layered disruption with the Prime and the Master Plan. But then you, of course, you dump 2, you summon out probably Eidos if you haven't got access to it already. Eidos then gets you Search for Follow-Up, and then you start your next turn with 5 cards in hand, which is, insane. So Perfection, in my opinion, is really cool. I know some people aren't a fan of it. You'd rather just play Erupt, but sometimes Erupt's not you play against the Odeon matchup, man. I think Perfection shines great against all matchups across the board, Rogue and Meta, whereas Erupt is really good against the meta matchups, but it kind of struggles against some of the more rogue matchups. So I'd rather have a card that just answers all of them. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to sit it down against a set 5, Odeon, or some sort of stun deck, Morganite, etc., and literally Erupt does dick all, right? I'd rather have Perfection to be able to start bouncing cards, banishing cards, doing stuff when they start special summoning. I'd rather have that than the Erupt. However, against White Forest, as you saw in the match, Perfection was able to do it, but definitely in the scenario against White Forest, you just have to solve Vengeance, and you have multiple ways to solve the Vengeance. and that's to Perfection and or Caius, believe it. So, I mean, I don't know. I really do like this card. I don't miss it. I think this week I'm going to grind. I do sadly have to work the next 2 weekends up until the regional, so I won't be able to go to locals to get like some local footage. So I think we'll just grind DB and just, try it that way. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Like I said, I really liked Perfection. I really, really liked the Thalos. Like I said, I really kind of wish the Thalos, didn't do so well. So that way that I could have, easily cut it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Versus series. You guys stay safe, stay healthy. This is Charles from Team COG signing out.